Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name's Don Arleth, and you're watching World Talks here on TVP World. Poland and Germany are in a high-stakes intergovernmental consultations today, led by Prime Minister Donald Tusk and Chancellor Friedrich Merz. The talks will tackle security, defense, infrastructure, and key issues shaping the EU agenda. Top ministers from both sides are joining the meeting to build on the dialogue revived in 2024 under Poland's Tusk-led government, after nearly 6 years of pause. Now joining me to discuss what we can expect from the gathering of good neighbors is Philipp Köker, a political scientist at Leibniz University, Hanover. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today on World Talks.
Good morning.
So we have these big meetings in Berlin today. Germany is preparing to return artworks and other treasures looted from Poland during World War II in what could become the most significant restitution move in decades. Sources tell TVP World that the handover is expected to include medieval Teutonic archives and a 14th century sculpture, and that should be, of course, confirmed today at the summit. Polish government says that this marks a rare moment of alignment with Berlin as both sides try to ease a long-running historical tension. So how do you view this move? Does this show that relations between Poland, these historical relations, are getting better?
Well, the German-Polish relationship is shaped by history and has always been, although usually the German side has tended to draw a line after World War II, and especially has denied any Polish requests for reparations. And so now returning artworks is a very important step. It shows German commitment towards the German-Polish relationship. On the other hand, it is really something that the Polish government can also sell to its own population as a massive success. These kind of repatriations of artworks are drawn-out processes, very complicated, and they always need the support of both governments involved. However, Polish government is likely to come with further demands for reparations, not because the Tusk government believes that Germany has to pay further reparations, but because there's immense domestic pressure, not least from President Karol Nawrocki, who even at his inaugural visit to Berlin earlier this year reiterated demands for 1.5 billion euros at least in reparations, and said that the future of the German-Polish friendship would be tied to these reparations.
Well, this is the second such meeting after a 6-year freeze under the previous government. Will this Polish-German consultations merely be a diplomatic gesture, do you believe, or do you think that we can expect some concrete actions coming out of today's meeting?
Well, yes, you said it in the beginning. German-Polish government consultations were paused for 6 years under the previous government and were only reinstated in 2024, where both governments actually decided together a new German-Polish action plan with further targets operation. And the Tusk government also welcomed the election of Friedrich Merz as chancellor, also because his party, the Christian Democrats, have traditionally been seen as very friendly to Poland and Poland's position within Europe. But relations quickly soured after Germany unilaterally reinstated border controls at the border with Poland, which was also, we could say, in violation of the promises made in the action plan. So today might not necessarily be about concrete outcomes, but rather about reaffirming commitment to the German-Polish relationship and to finding a level where we can talk again about these sensitive issues such as border controls. We could maybe see some movement here simply because the German-Polish relationship is also a strong economic one, and any kind of border controls, of course, impede trade between the two nations. giving economic pressure specifically in Germany, this might be really something where the German government might want to move forward or find a solution.
Now, in terms of in the face of Russian aggression on the continent, and of course with Washington being somewhat unpredictable as a security guarantor here in Europe, can Germany and Poland develop stronger ties in terms of security, and should enhanced cooperation in light of such threats be a priority for the two countries?
Yeah, so already as part of the action plan, we saw a chapter on security operations and cooperation with the view of further strengthening existing coordination mechanisms, joint exercises. And I also think that really a strong Polish-German alliance, both within EU and NATO, is really key in advancing European security interests. There is potential for further cooperation between the two. Poland could really use any kind of joint procurement with Germany, and Germany itself is trying to ramp up its security efforts, try to strengthen its army. But we could also say that Germany is lagging behind. And so while Poland could really see Germany as an unreliable partner in that regard, in the end, I think, especially at today's government talks, security issues is really what ties both countries together, where interests converge most clearly, and where I think we might also see some new impulses for cooperation within NATO, within the EU, and here maybe both for NATO and the EU, it could be very helpful that the Polish-American relationship has been much stronger in recent years than the German-American relationship.
Certainly. Well, then there's infrastructure, roads, bridges, railway connections. They'll be crucial in the event of a conflict. Do you believe that Germany is ready to potentially invest in this type of projects, knowing that most NATO supplies for Poland would have to pass through German territory?
Yeah, I think here we see that German domestic interests and international interests also align as part of new budgetary measures where Germany took on much more debt than was usually allowed. Money was reserved for infrastructure projects, and it looks like it will be invested there. Which then also means that Germany can basically satisfy two aims at once by both investing in domestic infrastructure, but also preparing all these infrastructure projects in the border region, which would benefit, of course, defense capabilities, but then also, again, economic, social, societal cooperation between the two countries.
Poland, in some sense, no longer really wants to be seen as a junior partner in Europe, and sometimes here in, I guess, the domestic perception, Poland seems to be sidelined from some of the major talks that happen in Europe sometimes. Will we see any shift in this type of perception or the relationship between Berlin and Warsaw?
Well, I think there's now a chance for Poland to really assert itself and also force other countries to recognize its role. Poland is now a frontline state in the war started by Russia. It's a key player in coordinating with other countries in Central and Eastern Europe, specifically the Baltic states. So these talks may also be an opportunity for Poland to convince the German side, which has also often sidelined Poland, that Poland is really a key player here, and really also looking at France with its complicated domestic situation. If Germany really wants to take on a leadership role, and it certainly has to in this conflict, it can only do so with Poland. And so maybe we could even see, at least in security terms, Poland advancing to almost the same level as Germany in some of these talks, and being seen as an equal or very important partner here.
The Bundestag is expected to approve a permanent memorial for Polish war victims and hand over 73 medieval parchments and a sculpture. Are such gestures politically meaningful, or are they mainly symbolic?
Yeah, I think at the moment we can say that they're mostly symbolic. However, even symbols carry meaning, and it's probably the least common denominator that Polish and German governments could agree on. In Germany, there's very little appetite, or in the German public, in the German government, to pay any kind of reparations, and so a symbolic gesture is something that can go down well with the German public. Looks like not too much money is spent, especially in times of budgetary constraints. For the Polish side, it can also be seen as a small success. However, especially in Poland, I would imagine that these gestures, while potentially meaningful, can be seen as cheap talk, and Germany trying to evade its responsibilities.
So for both sides, as they meet in Berlin today, what do you think the, I guess, most meaningful outcomes we will see? Will we see enhanced cooperation in the fields that were highlighted in the action plan last time around in 2024? Anything surprising that might come out of today?
Yeah, I don't think that we will see many surprises today. If hard work's handed over, this is probably the most exciting thing to happen, because otherwise it's really about re-establishing trust between the two governments and expressing commitment to the action plan. But apart from a lot of diplomatic language, we are unlikely to see a major breakthrough here.
Okay, Philipp Köker, the political scientist at Leibniz University, Hanover. Thank you so much for joining us on World Talks. Appreciate it. And that concludes this edition of World Talks. Thanks for joining us, and stay with us for more here on TVP World.